host Shay, and I'm back with another episode of Shay's Relationship Files. And today we're going to do something a little different. So we talk about different relationships when it comes to marriage, and another relationship that we could talk about is relationship between a parent and their children. And the topic today is: do you feel like discipline is missing in the household? Do you feel like discipline is matters in the household? So that's the topic we're talking about this morning. And I was reading this article on this topic, so I'm going to share a few bits from that article. And good morning to everyone. I hope everyone's morning going well. I hope everyone's staying safe today out there if you have to go to work or have some errands to run. And again, remember to like, share, and subscribe. And let's get into it. So, today, as we see around us, as we see kids growing up and just seeing people on a daily basis, it seems as though things have changed over time when it comes to the children and the parents dynamic. Because back when I was growing up, my mom would just have to give me the look that I did something wrong, and I would quickly straighten up my act because I knew that look mean if I didn't, I was gonna get a spanking or I was gonna be on punishment, something, some form of consequence if I kept testing her or testing her patience, or if I was doing something that I know I wasn't supposed to do. So nowadays, I feel like that has completely changed when it comes to kids nowadays. I feel like many parents may not discipline their kids as much as they should, and I think sometimes with discipline too, and that's what I wanted to bring up. Discipline doesn't always have to involve like spanking the child or whooping the child. Discipline is whatever safe, effective, and I say safe because there's many people and some parents that go way overboard when it comes to disciplining their children. So I'm not talking about actually harming your kids, but I say a safe, effective way that as a parent when your child does something that they don't supposed to or break the rules, a consequence to it that would teach them why they shouldn't have did that, but at the same time they learn from it. And that doesn't always have to mean actually whooping them. Like I said, it can be just taking things from them. Like nowadays, because our kids are so stuck on electronics more so than we were back in the day, it's you could easily take an iPad away or just say, oh, you can't have your phone for a few days. And to them, that's torture, you know? Because us back then, and many of us can remember, we did more outside activities and things. I mean, we had computers. Maybe some of us had computers. Some of us probably didn't have computers at all, and that we just had black and white television. But for me, at least, back in my time, I had computers, but they wasn't that advanced to where it was like, oh my goodness, I can't wait to be on the computer. Like it was dial up. Like it wasn't nothing much you can do with dial up. Like you had, and then the crazy part about that internet, if you remember, you have to unplug your house phone and connect it to the computer in order for you to even be able to have an internet connection. And then when you did do that, it took forever for those connections to even connect. And then if it did, it wasn't that fast. And then it is just, yeah. So anybody who was raised in that time, definitely, I know you get it, like how it was. But the point is, I do feel like there's different methods now that you don't necessarily have to go for spanking your kids, but you still want to put an emphasis on when they make certain choices, and if there's rules set and they go against those rules, it do need to be a consequence, because in life, when we grow up as adults, there's a consequence. Hi, good morning, Sora Rave Gaming. There's a consequence to bad and good decisions we make in life. That's just how it is. So with our kids, yes, I am a faceless YouTuber. I never show my face. That's why. But thank you for joining though this morning. Yeah, so as I was saying, it's a bad and a good consequence to everything we do in life. So, how would our kids understand that aspect if we don't start at home? Because, as the saying goes, everything starts in the home first. And whatever's not being taught in the home, the necessary things that need to be taught, then they're going to learn it out here, and they may not learn it from the right person, or it may not be perceived like it should be. And this article that I was reading, it mentioned kind of that, because it was saying it recommends that parents not spank, hit, slap, threaten, insult, humiliate, or shame your children. And that's kind of what I was saying. Like, I don't think that's necessary, because you don't have to humiliate your child or threaten them to get your point across, because then that do affects their emotional stability, and that's just not the best way you can do it, because that's just going to lower their self-esteem. Because again, there's so many kids today that already have a hard time, especially with the era of social media. So we're going to get into this article that I've read about this topic here. Just give me a moment. I'm trying to pull it up here. Okay. And again, everyone that's coming in, I hope your morning's going well. Okay, I believe it's pulled up. Okay. So the first thing in here, it says how discipline works. It says there are many reasons why a parent may not want to discipline a child. Some parents may be reluctant to discipline children because they want to avoid conflict, or because they don't want to have their child be angry at them. And that's very real, because I can honestly admit there were times early on when I first became a mom that I didn't want to have to discipline my child. I didn't like the fact of I have to firmly tell her, "Oh no, you can't do this," or "No, stop there," if she continued to misbehave. Like, I didn't like doing that, and it's still, because you look at your kid's face, and even till this day, she's 13 now, but I still have that weakness for her, because I love my daughter. We all love our kids. So the last thing we want to do is be the cause of them feeling hurt or anything. But we know, like we said, like I was saying, that discipline is important. And then also they brought out how others may be unable or unwilling to devote their time and energy to the task of disciplining children. So nowadays also, because the household dynamic where both parents may have to work, It sometimes could be to the point where you're just tired and you just don't feel like dealing with it, and you just like, even with what they said, do you like, oh, whatever, just go to bed or just don't deal with it. But over time, then that creates, I call it the spoiled child, where, because I had to realize at some point, your child is not going to be a child forever. They have to grow up and be an adult at some point in life. And at some point they gonna grow to be more bigger, voice change, all those things, and they're gonna eventually end up talking back to you and end up being more at you, because as they grow, as they go through puberty, they also start having their own thinking opinions of what they have to say. So with that, when you continue to just let things slide, it start building a sense of, oh, I can do and say whatever I want to my parents, and they're gonna not care, they're just gonna let me get away with it type thing. And that's just not something realistically we want to try to teach our kids. And then I like that it mentions here, but the fact is, discipline is not about creating conflict with your child or lashing out in anger. So, like I was saying earlier on, it doesn't have to be anger or lashing out in order for it to be discipline. Discipline can be done in a way that's still very loving, but still get the point across that this is something that they need to work on not doing. When done correctly, it is not about trying to control your child, but about showing them how to control their own behavior. And I really like that, because self control is important for not only kids, but us as adults. We even have to learn how to self control and not react in a way that could put us in a predicament we don't want to be in. And sometimes it's easier said than done. It's not the easiest thing, especially when someone presses your buttons enough. But our kids do look at how we handle situations, in whatever way we're handling a situation, whether good or bad, they're gonna take that and say, okay, this is how I'm supposed to handle things. So we handle stuff with a whole bunch of anger all the time and just screaming at the top of our lungs all the time. Then our children are gonna do the exact same thing, even not just as an adult, but they're going to start doing it while living within the household. You're going to start seeing the same behaviors done by them that you do. And then it's an open mirror to you, like, oh, maybe I need to work on doing a little bit better with how I lash out, because, like I said, discipline doesn't have to be in an angry way. Discipline can be loving and still get the point across. And then it says also, I like that it point out, it's not about punishing a child for doing something wrong, but about setting clear parameters and consequences for breaking rules, so that they learn how to discipline themselves. Because if there's a thought that as a kid grows up and they think, oh, I could just do whatever, say whatever to anybody in any way, and they just gotta accept it, then they grow up like that, thinking they don't have to hold themselves accountable for anything. And in life, in order for you to, because you're gonna have friendships, eventually maybe a marriage mate, or even if you just dealing with coworkers at work, you're gonna have different dynamics, and you have to learn how to treat people. And if you just being belligerent and just talking rudely to people, and then say, oh, I don't care, this is me, this is how I am, because I hear that so many times with people, then that's it's just, nobody's not gonna really want to be around you. No one likes to be around someone that you can't kind of talk to, like, especially if it's a situation where you're trying to talk about something they may have offended you with, vice versa. And if they're so like loud talking and just the type that just don't understand, or you can't communicate with them without them lashing or getting angry and not really trying to hear what you say, that makes it difficult to be around a person like that. But that can help when it starts in the home and when they're younger, for us to teach them that as they're young, so as they're growing they understand, okay, this is not the way I should handle this, I should do this. And when I make the mistake, we want to instill that in our kids, because they're not going to automatically know how to handle situations just off the rip. We have to train them to know that. And they have this on the article where it says setting foundation for good behavior. And it says when many parents who are reluctant to discipline children may not understand is how damaging it can be for a child to lack boundaries. Without discipline, children will be deficient, I believe the word is, and in important life skills, including the following. They will be more likely to engage in negative behavior, which is something I was just talking about, that are harmful and even potentially dangerous for themselves as well as others. They will be unhappy. They will be willfully selfish and generally unpleasant company, which is kind of what I was saying. Like, just they will lack self control. They will not have social skills that are important for making friends, such as empathy, patience, and knowing how to share. And that's something I was basically just talking about just now. Like, those having empathy, patience, and knowing how to share. Having empathy is so important nowadays, because it, even if the person comes to you and say you offended me, and you don't have at least the compassion to hear them out, even if you feel like you haven't done anything, that's just, it just doesn't go well with that person or that friend. It just makes things a lot more worse. And another thing it pointed out, they will not respect their parents or other authority figures. And I kind of talked about that. Like, if we don't teach our kids and involve that there's consequences when they do things they don't supposed to, they can end up excuse me, as adults not showing respect to other adults, and it starts moving out the home, because once they think it's okay to be disrespectful or disobedient in the home, then eventually other adults around them, they're going to do the same thing, because they feel like, oh, my parents not telling me not to at home, so I can go ahead and be disrespectful to other adults that I'm around. So yeah, and then now we're going to talk about the traits that discipline encourages. So these are the things that discipline actually does positively for our kids. It helps them to be more responsible and enjoy being a good kid and helping others at home, at school, and in the world. They are more self confident. They know that their opinions and feelings will be heard, which is something I did bring up. Like, it is important for us to hear our kids out. There's nothing wrong with, letting our kids tell how they feel. It's just about how they tell us when we're talking to them about why you made this decision to do this, and that, and the third. But it's important we teach them how to communicate that, because it's a wrong way to communicate your feelings and it's a right way. Screaming and yelling, saying, I know, mom or dad, yeah, you this, sounding like that is not respectful. But, calmly talking, like saying, mom, I'm sorry I did, or dad, I wasn't thinking, or whatever the case may be. You have, and I tell my daughter this all the time, It's all in about your tone and how you say things. It's not always what you say, it's how you say it. So if you be careful and really pay attention to how you say things, then that will go a long way. Not just now, but even as an adult. And then other traits they said that discipline promotes is they are pleasant to be around and more likely to have easier time making friends. And they know that they are accountable for their mistakes or misbehavior and are more likely to make good choices because they want to, not because they fear punishment. So that's a difference. It's a thin line between making good choices because they want to and then because they fear punishment. And that's kind of goes from the beginning of what I was talking about. We don't have to make discipline something that makes them afraid because we're not trying to scare our kids. What we trying to do is teach our kids, like, when you go against the rule of something that's set, there's a consequence. It's a bad consequence, like a punishment or something if you do wrong. And then there's of course commending when you do something right. And also another thing, and this is from a separate article I've read about this too. We want to commend our kids when we have the opportunity to, because that also helps. Even when we do have our times where we have to put them on punishment or take something away for a few days or something like that when they're doing something wrong. But also when they do something good, we should also show, oh, good job, I'm proud of you, because that, I feel like that aspect too also teaches the child, like they said, they know when they do good things. Oh, if people say, oh, good job, I feel good when I make the right choices. Because not saying we always gonna make the right choice. We all make mistakes. We all do things we're not happy with sometimes, even as adults. But the most important is that we recognize and that we do have a choice to pick the right way. And when we do, we feel better about it. And that's just, I feel like that's an important thing to instill in our kids, and to remember that it doesn't have to be non-loving discipline. You can discipline your kids in a loving manner and still be able to help them understand why why discipline is needed. And I feel like if we as parents make sure we instill those things in our kids, it'll just help more with them transitioning with school and knowing how to treat their peers, knowing how to treat their teachers, all that good stuff. So definitely, you guys, I appreciate you guys being here today. I appreciate all of you coming in on my live this morning to talk about this. And please don't hesitate to comment down below. I do read my comments. So even if you have a comment about this topic later on, you want to just put in, you definitely can. Again, remember to like, share, and subscribe, everyone. Again, stay safe today. Hope everyone has a great day at work or school or whatever you got to do today. And I will see you guys next live tomorrow. And yeah, so everyone have a great day again. And again, this was ShayS Relationship Files, and we were talking about why discipline matters in the home with your children and what are some good things about discipline that would encourage in the household. So again, thank you guys for joining. Please help me to continue to help this channel grow. And again, see you guys tomorrow. Peace.